Well, welcome back. Actually, it's not welcome back. I'm starting a new show. It's called Courtney on Health. And it's Courtney. How do you pronounce your last name?
Gravinies.
Gravity. I look at, I
Gravity.
want to say Giovannici, but Gravity. And Courtney is, I have it's an MS, which is Master of Science, right?
Yes.
And the RDN, which is,
Registered dietitian, nutritionist.
and CDN.
Certified dietitian, nutritionist. Just a
And
whole
you
lot of
work,
letters.
yeah. And you work both with sort of like physical health and mental health.
Yeah, well, I do. I'm a health educator. I do both. I'm an exercise physiologist and I'm a registered dietitian. So I do both of those areas of wellness, but invariably they overlap with people who are, trying to make change, maybe suffering from some issues related to stress. So as we know, it tends to have an onion layer effect when it comes to wellness.
Yeah.
So I'm coming over right after this to get my health, mental health and shit. It's like,
Move on down the hill.
yeah, I'm coming on down the hill. So I'm gonna just take like less than a minute. I just want to read this because I saw this quote today by the Dalai Lama, and I think it kind of fits into what you're gonna talk about. It says modern science doesn't include a deep understanding of the workings of mind and emotions, but some scientists are showing an interest in finding out. We need to cultivate emotional hygiene, learning how to reduce anger, anxiety, and fear. The key is to cultivate peace of mind. So the question is, peace of mind, body, how does that go? How does that fit into each other? And what can you tell us about how we can integrate them?
Well, I think it's impossible to approach any type of behavior change in wellness. Everything starts with the brain and the mind. But I believe it's more of a loop, a beautiful feedback loop that exists. When you get that balance of your brain triggering something you need to do, and then the body gets that message, and then the body, because it feels good and is sending messages to your brain that are triggering feel good, it continues the cycle. So when it becomes to, like for stress, people manage stress in different ways. There's no question that exercise will help with that, but you have to be in a place where you're ready to embrace those changes in order to get the cycle in place. And that's for any behavior change. That's whether you're trying to increase exercise because you want that as part of your arsenal of things to do to relieve stress, or whether you want to meditate more, or whether you're trying to be more mindful, or any behavior change. So it has to start there, and then that sets in motion all of these reactions, these bodily reactions. So triggers of neurotransmitters, triggers of hormones that either make us feel better or pathway, but it always has to start with what's your headspace like.
Right. It's like, as we mentioned when we spoke before, I was like, in yoga classes, which now I'm not taking, but they say still your mind, keep your mind still, try to quiet, don't overthink. People are overthinking about everything now. It's just, you can't not, your brain is just going so far ahead of your body, I think, that how do you get that calm going so then you can, use exercise after that. But how do you get the calm? How do you get to that point?
Well, I think, let me step back for a second and say, I do agree that our brains are very overactive right now. It's an incredible amount of stimuli that we're being exposed to, mostly, unfortunately, negative right now and not necessarily positive. But the good thing about stress, because there is a good thing, we're designed as humans to be stressed. We really couldn't survive if we didn't have some stress that was in our world. What you want is not too much, not too little, but right down the middle, eustress. So you don't want, an abundance, but you do need a little bit. It's motivating for a lot of us. So the trick now or at any time is to find those things that either you can minimize how much stress is going on in your world, or if you can do a single thing to change that, what you can do, how you can change the way you think, or how long you hang on to that stressor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm a health educator. I'm a dietitian, and I'm an exercise physiologist. But whenever you're working with health education and overall wellness, the first step is, are you ready to make these changes? And what can you do that's reasonable, that's sustainable, that you can do to help keep those changes in your world that works for you? So
Yeah,
that's really a key component.
Yeah, Courtney, I have a question going back to what you said before. I know as a runner, after a certain point, you get to call the runner's high.
Mhm.
And it's sort of like, or people call it the second wind. And I know it's like the body kicks in endorphins.
Yep.
Is there a way to stimulate the endorphins mentally versus doing it on a physiological basis? Because that makes you have a feeling of well-being. Is there another way of stimulating it aside from doing 10 miles?
Well, first, you don't need to do 10. I think it's fantastic if you can do 10 miles, but you don't need that 10 miles in order to release the norepinephrine that you're talking about, the endorphins, the serotonin, all of the feel-good neurotransmitters and hormones that you're talking about. It can be simply being outside with sun on your face and going for a brisk walk. It could be cool air. It could be a hike. It can you just being more mindful in the moment. For some people, positive visualization is a really strong technique in order for them to feel that calm. And Maxine, back to your point, how to calm the mind, how to quiet the mind and get rid of that noise, that external noise that's keeping you from being at peace. So it doesn't have to be 10 miles. It can be a lot, firstly, from an exercise perspective, it can be a lot less than typical, very type A aggressive exercise. It could be a lot less than that. But even aside from that, exercise aside, and like I said, for some people, meditation, deep breathing. I think if most of us just simply throughout the day took moments just to do some deep inhalation, some really diaphragmatic breathing, rather than the typical shallow breathing that we do throughout the day, it instantly calms you. So it might not be long lasting, but for the moment, that deep breathing is something that really can be very helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah, I have a watch that does that. It says time to breathe and time to stand up.
Yeah.
This is an amazing little tool here, I can tell you.
Maxine, just to answer your question, what I do is I got into transcendental meditation many years ago. And basically what they do is you stay in a quiet place and you say your mantra, which is a word that doesn't mean anything. But basically, you're supposed to do that which takes your mind off other things. And the trick is also, if you lose your mantra and you start thinking of other things, that's involved, you just go back to your mantra. That's supposed to empty your mind. And if you get into it, and I can't do it all the time, but if you get into it, all of a sudden the 20 minutes is gone and you haven't thought of anything and you feel very restful. Another thing which I occasionally do is listening to chants. And you can get that on YouTube. You get any chants or that you want. And you just sit down and you relax and you concentrate, or they have the Om Shanti Shanti, which I used to do also.
Wow.
Anyway, that's one of my tricks.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So what, I mean, if you find yourself like overwhelmed, right now, what's the best go-to to sit and breathe in, or to go out and take a walk, or what's the best way to try to deal with it in these crazy, insane times? What do you suggest to people?
Well, the first thing I would suggest is certainly what I find is working for me personally is not necessarily going to be the answer for everybody else. So I think the first thing to do for everybody is to evaluate what are those things that I can do that are calm. It's really useless for me to recommend to somebody to say, go outside, go for a long hike, or get on a bike, or go no matter where. I know, Malcolm, you're in slightly better weather than where we are, but if that's not something that they embrace or they enjoy, I think for most of us, getting outside in general, whether you are going for a hike, a bike ride, a run, a walk, getting outside, getting fresh air, getting some sunlight is immediately healing for many of us. So even if you're a senior citizen and you want to sit outside and, you know, just breathe in the air and do some deep breathing out there, that's a start. So we all need a starting point. And I guess the first thing to say, what would that starting point be for you? And where do you think?
I'm gonna have to cut you short over here because our time is up. What I want to do is do a whole series of shows, especially now, what we can do both physically, mentally, and diet-wise to survive the pandemic that we have, because everybody's under stress. And again, I'm
gonna interject. I'm gonna ask Courtney to finish that thought first, though, before we come out. You were saying that, you know, you should go out and breathe, and no matter what it is there anything aside from that that you can do?
Yeah, I think for everybody, regardless of what our starting point is, before you go to bed, okay, lying in bed, it's a great place for you to firstly do the deep breathing that we were just speaking about. Just take a moment just to really get some deep inhalation in and exhale very, very slowly. The other thing, and this is sort of quasi meditation, repeat a noise. It's almost like any kind of white noise, whatever it is, to help block out the other thoughts that might be creeping into your brain, that might be preventing you from either calm sleep, that might be making you feel unsettled. So repeating a noise that Malcolm was talking about, that helps. So the deep breathing, everybody can do. Calming the noise in your head by repeating that noise several times, absolutely everybody can do. And if you're ready for it, even just positive visualization. So picture yourself someplace that makes you feel good. And for that, it's different for everybody.
Yeah, you guys,
I think those are everybody.
each week I want to cover, you know, another thing. So like, I know right now I want to try to keep the show short. I mean, maybe we'll have to lengthen it because right now people really don't have the attention span, especially
unfortunately
doing things. So what I want to do is, like, each week you come on, let's say we'll do Monday at this time, which the show should be on sometime this afternoon. Again, malcolmpresents.com, and do a whole series of shows with you, giving different little tips of how to keep your body in shape, how to keep your mind in shape, how to keep your husband in shape or your wife in shape, what to do with the kids, little tips of lifestyles.
Well,
I'd be happy to. I'd love to do that.
Courtney, just give us your Instagram handle.
It's CLG Wellness.
It's what?
CLG Wellness.
Okay. And you can also go, you can tweet me at TM Shades of Green, and we'll get information out to you. If you tweet me and leave us a message, that would be great. And Courtney, you're amazing. And I know Health with Courtney is going to be a really good tool for people.
Okay, again, Courtney, welcome aboard, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
You too.
Be well.
Bye. You too. Be well.